Now, Sports Talk with Brodes. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome on into Sports Talk with Brodes. It's obviously a devastating time. It's a very sad time. Now, we don't know the full news. We don't know how brutal it's going to be long term, but I don't feel great about things, and this is just naturally how my mind works. I am going to think the worst case scenario possible, and then if we find out anything better than that, well, then I am pleasantly surprised. But as we sit here today, moments after the game ended, I'm crushed, I'm devastated, I'm disappointed, and I am definitely thinking, hey, it's the worst. That's just the way it works for me. Now, I don't like that. I'm not happy that that's the way that it is. If it was preferred, well, if it's possible, another thought process would be preferred. But I am damaged at the moment, and I am internally going through a tough time. When it happened, I was stunned in disbelief. I don't think I moved from my couch for over an hour and a half. The jaw was all the way to the floor, and I was motionless. My fiance asked if I was ever going to do anything again. I said nothing because I couldn't move my damn mouth. It was incredible the way that everything got sucked out of me within moments. His reaction, the pain from his voice, the grabbing of the knee. And we might get lucky here. We might possibly get a situation where it's not as bad as it looked. I'm not going to say, well, because he walked off the floor and because Carson Wentz walked off the field against the LA Rams, that this is the same exact scenario. It's not. Just because one thing happened in one spot doesn't mean the same thing, the same outcome is in play because of what we've seen in the past with a different athlete in a different sport with a different hit. But there's no doubt that the way he went to the floor and the way that he let that out of his mouth and the tone of the frustration and discomfort, well, yeah, it definitely doesn't make me feel great about things. And I actually saw some reaction out there, which kind of reacts or relates to where I am with this game as a whole. That, well, look at Tony Bradley and look at Dwight Howard and look at the way that they're playing. We'll be able to hold the fort. Don't worry. Come on. Is that really the way that people feel out there today? That, oh, don't worry about it, that the MVP leader of the league is injured, banged up, and possibly going to miss out a significant amount of time, regardless of if it's what we all think it can be and what it is. He ain't hopping back on Sunday to play the Spurs. He's not coming back and playing early next week. He is going to work himself back into this no matter what the outcome is. In what universe is it reality to sit back and say, well, they ended up beating a team in Washington who stinks out loud, and Tony Bradley and Dwight Howard look good. And because when they came back from break in game one, when they played an even worse team in the Chicago Bulls, who didn't feel like competing for a second, well, Dwight Howard and Tony Bradley. Come on. If you lose Joel Embiid, it's over. And don't you dare bring up Nick Foles. In the NBA, your percentage of doing any damage and winning any sort of championship, if you lose your MVP player, is laughable. You're doomed. You're in nightmare scenario mode. If it is what we are all afraid of. Every year it seems something, though. Joel Embiid misses one backstretch. Ben Simmons misses the next backstretch. Now Joel Embiid's got to miss this backstretch. And it's like a common theme with these two guys. It's no one's fault. It's not Joel Embiid's fault. Some might go, well, it's obvious that he's had injury history in the past. He's an injury-prone guy. No, this is just a basketball play. He went up there, he made a nice aggressive dunk, and he landed awkwardly on his foot. Did you see the way that his leg locked out? Anybody in human history is going to do that same thing, and will get a similar reaction, and will have a same injury. The way that the body reacts to that movement isn't because, well, this guy's injury prone, so that means his knee won't lock out and he'll go back out and compete after he goes to the bench and gets a 4-minute rest. No, your body's not supposed to tweak that way no matter who you are. It's not injury prone or not. It's just an unfortunate basketball play that happened to damage one hell of a player who's taken the league by storm this year and dropping 40 plus whenever he wants to. And it sucks because early in the game, you see him get some possessions. He's hitting a three. Raul Neto gets rejected. I believe it was Tobias Harris. It leads to a Joel Embiid three, which hit nothing but net. You had him on Wagner making moves and bang, a huge dunk with a couple guys on him. Couldn't be stopped. He was getting attacked by 2 or 3 defenders. Now, sometimes there was ugliness involved, but I'll chalk that up to what happened over the All-Star break, not being able to play and going through these wonky COVID protocol situations. So I chalk that up to, just a little bit of sloppiness based off of, hey, getting thrown back into the action. But you saw 2, 3 guys on him, and what's he doing? He's creating enough space to shoot over everyone. Soft touch off the glass, soft touch around the rim, goes in, and one gets fouled, go to the charity stripe. He did it all, and I was so excited to see that once again. I miss Joel, all right? I know it's been only about 1 week, but it feels like it's been 10,000. It feels like I've been all gone through an off season, and then Embiid got thrown into our eyeballs again. That's how pumped up I was to see 21 out there on the floor. The difference in energy when it comes to Embiid playing and Embiid not playing is so extreme. Just watching him dribble and knock down a mid-range jumper facing up to the basket, I get the goosebumps. His face-up game is so strong. And now I'm getting upset because I'm talking about what fascinates me so much and what puts pure enjoyment in my life out of Joel Embiid, and he might not be available on the floor for quite some time. We might miss him for weeks. We might miss him for months. We might miss him, waiting. And we're all antsy, and we're all going to refresh our Twitter feeds every 6 seconds, just waiting for the Philadelphia 76ers Twitter account to put out some sort of information, even though we know the MRI isn't coming tonight, and we have to wait for them to get to Philadelphia to settle down, to get everything assessed, and then the news will drop. But my heart sunk into my stomach, and I was in discomfort, and it was awkward, and I was so disappointed. A mixture of so many emotions. You feel bad for the guy in general. Take away my feelings. Take away the feelings of the fans. But what about Joel Embiid? The amount of work ethic and the amount of determination he had to set his bar this high and to go out there and execute and really be someone that everyone acknowledges is a superstar this year and must-watch television, and he can dominate any matchup he wants to, unless it's the Toronto Raptors. That's the one he seems to have struggled with, no matter if it's Marc Gasol, myself, yourself, my fiance, you name it. That's the team that figures him out every matchup. It blows my mind. But everyone has that player too. You can ask all of the best players of their generation. There seems to always be a stiff or an average guy, your average Joe, that finds a way to be able to make it a living hell for them, or it'll be a tough night at the office, or they have to earn it a little more than they are used to. Sometimes it's a breeze, but when they go up against that average guy, or that above average guy, in this case, I'd say the Toronto Raptors are that above average guy, just in general over the last handful of years, when you look at their sample size as a package, they are a better than average basketball team. So there's always those matchups that give you night and day problems compared to other teams, and I don't even know where I was going with that. Just my point is, knowing what Joel Embiid can do and where he set his mind prior to the season beginning and how far he has come this year to really put it out on display and support it, back it up for the first time to this tier. He's always been a flashy player, but it has hit this new tier for Embiid, where when you talk about LeBron James and Giannis and these top talented cats this season, Embiid is mentioned before those players. He's got to be so upset. And Doc said he's in good spirit, but good spirit to me, that's nothing. That's coach speak. Yeah, he's in good spirit. Well, what's he going to say? You know what? Joel Embiid is pissed off. Joel Embiid is crying. Joel Embiid is not moving. He's pulling a Brodes. He's sitting on the couch, and he's numb to it. No, he's in good spirit. He's going to get checked out, and we'll move on from there. I mean, that's the right answer. That's the coach answer, and that's what you were probably going to get if you were logically looking at it. Him being in good spirit means nothing to me. And sadly, The way my mind works, I am just purely thinking about the worst case scenario and how bad it can be. And look, about this game, I'll say this. It is hard to emotionally keep it together from his teammates' point of view when you lose such a powerful piece. And when you see him walk out off the floor and he's leaving the floor, it becomes a realization. We just lost Joel Embiid. There's two ways to go from here. We can fold, we can collapse, we can allow the opponent to creep back into the lead and somewhat make it a closer fight than it needs to be, or we can keep our foot on the gas. So the team has played very well since break. It's been 2 basketball games, but they have been coming out with explosion, and they have been outscoring their opponent. And defensively, a player like Matisse Thybulle is swarming the opponent and making them so uncomfortable. Now, Bradley Beal, he shot efficiently. It was 8 of 13 from the floor, but he finished with 19 points. Bradley Beal is a player that dropped a 50-bomb, 60-bomb on them last game where he was destroying anyone cutting to the basket. I remember the transition D was putrid and they didn't get back, and then it was easy to penetrate the lane, which how many times have we had that conversation this year? That teams get right through that defense, and when they wanted to dribble penetrate, they dribble penetrated. It got so ugly. That was during a phase of one of those Sixers games, and Bradley Beal was picking it apart left and right. You saw him drop less than 20 points in this basketball game, something you are not used to seeing. And you got to give credit to Matisse Thybulle. He's out of bounds, and he's coming back onto the court and picking a ball off. It was perfect motion, perfect read, perfect cut. And there's something to be said about when he is jumping now. His mind is starting to understand the IQ of it from his calculated risks. When you are a defender, you need to make sure that you have it down pat. Well, sometimes I can get the job done when I do it here. I don't have a great winning percentage when I do it here. And hey, I know when they open up their body, they're going to try and go across the court here at the top of the key. I can jump it. The calculated risks with Matisse Thybulle seem to be elevating and seems to be a sign of his growth as a player. And I've alluded to this many times with Matisse, something that always bothered me, and it seemed to work out for him, and it's not standard because you like to keep your defenders in front of the opponent. Make sure you slide your feet. Make sure you're very active and you're explosive in that area. But he sometimes gets beat, and he not chooses to get beat, but when he does, he takes a step back and he'll go from behind and he'll try and make a play from behind. And now I just think he does that, and he does do it well, and he does it better than most. And that's something that he just seemed to not perfect, because it does get him in trouble, and he does pick up fouls when he probably doesn't need to, but he's figured it out more than most. And when he's taking these jumps and he's getting these fast breaks and he's anticipating passes, it's all one big development process that we're seeing out of Matisse. And the fact that you see graphics all the time, 5 minutes of play, 3 steals, 3 minutes of play, 7 steals, 2 minutes of play, 26 steals. I constantly see that graphic put up on NBC Sports Philadelphia because the guy is masterful with those hands. Wonder what the ladies think. Too far? I don't know. Maybe. When you look at Shake Milton, nice performance. Korkmaz, 18 points. Both of them had 18 points. I'm just struggling because I'm a bigger sample size guy. I'm wondering, what does this mean? I'm happy that they are producing. I'm happy that Shake Milton had a nice game because all around, he hasn't been efficient enough for my liking. And if you're talking about a championship caliber team, you need the best version of Shake Milton every night. You can't have those nights where Shake shoots 3 of 15 for 12 points. You can't have that. That's unacceptable. You will be losing basketball games if that's the case. So I'm cool with Shake Milton having these type of nights and moments where it's like, okay, Shake, it's in there. Can we see it more effectively? Can we count on it on Sunday against the Spurs? If I said Shake Milton, what type of game is he going to have on Sunday? You don't know what you can say. You don't know what it's going to be. Now, you have a 50-50 chance, but that's a problem. It needs to be more of like an 85-15, where the 85% chance is, yes, he's going to explode, and he's going to give you a night where he shoots, I don't know, 6 of 9, 7 of 9, in that area. Like, hey, that's a good Shake Milton night off the bench. 85-15. That's what you need to be able to rely on off of your sixth man for a serious threat. Just before the break, we all screamed week after week, day after day, sometimes even possession by possession, right? We screamed that this bench sucked, and they were playing awful, and you can't win that way. And we weren't wrong. So here they are coming out and playing a Bulls team that isn't good, and a Washington Wizards team that's not good. And don't tell me, well, they had a nice stretch and they won a couple basketball games. Whoop-de-damn-do. They stink. They're not a good team. And that's evident. Look at their record and look at who they have been over the last handful of seasons for a while, too. They stink. They're bad. So let me get this straight. And this doesn't mean that the Sixers bench are who they were during that ugliness, because to start the season, they weren't that putrid. So they started out being a nice option for you. They were okay. Then they go through this phase of miserable basketball. Now, after the last two nights, they're great. Well, what are they? Who are they? I don't think they were that terrible, terrible bench that were getting abused in nightmare form right before the break. But I don't think they're this good either. I'm sorry, there's no way it just flips to that extreme, and then this is automatically who they are. I think that there is a sense of urgency because players know, I got to show Doc. This is the second half, and this is how it goes for playoff teams that are at the top. You now get your chances minimized, and you now have to make the most of it. If you have a chance, you have to bury your shot. You have to come up big. You have to come up clutch. You might not get that chance again. I have to show Doc that I deserve to be in the playoffs. I deserve to get that time. Give me that clock. Give me more run, coach. So there is this sense of urgency of, yo, I got to play. Because if I don't, my ass will be sitting in uniform with the long sleeve t-shirt on at the end of the bench, and I want to be in there. So the guys do want to play well, and it's showing. And I'm proud of that. I want this to be the case. I want them to say, I got to make the most of it. I have to perform. That's a good sign of the mental approach. I don't automatically think, though, that now I can rely on this bench because of Tony Bradley out of nowhere. Because Tony Bradley has rise to the occasion in 2 games against bad teams. Can you expect Furkan Korkmaz, Shake Milton, and Tony Bradley to perform this way? All 3 of them. If they were going up against the Clippers. If they were playing the Milwaukee Bucks. And hey, next week we might see that, right? Next week, you actually see the Milwaukee Bucks a couple times. So, you see that. We might get that answer. Also, though, with that being said, 1 game, even if they did play 1 game against a good team, 1 game, the sample size is not big enough for me. So, I'm not getting sucked into any sort of, hey, this bench is remade. You know, you had people scream that you got to get Kyle Lowry. Daryl Morey's not making moves fast enough. Screaming that Daryl Morey better be picking up the phone. If he's not, I'm pissed, I'm pissed, I'm pissed. People were getting on Daryl Morey. Things had to be done. And now all of a sudden things don't have to be done anymore. I get confused by that. I do need to take a fat swig of this water, though. I am extremely dehydrated. I went on I'll tell you in a second. Let me take this fat swig. Amazing. So I went on, because it was super nice outside today. I went on like a 4-mile walk at one of our township parks where, you know, you're going through the woods and there's like a pond and there's people fishing and like there's this huge trail and then there's this nice park with baseball fields, softball fields. I self-reflected. It's been a while since I got to just embrace the fresh air, super nice outside, throw the AirPods in, listen to sports talk radio, listen to a little bit of music, just take a step back with where I was in life and assess it and self-analyze where I'm at and kind of just think about a couple things because things have just been moving so fast for me and very quickly as of late. And my legs are killing me. And I am so brutally out of shape, apparently, because walking did that. But the reason why I brought that up is because I was listening to the Mike Missinelli show a little bit, and I heard Tyrone Johnson bring up something so big about Matisse Thybulle that I think is so fascinating. And look, Matisse took 0 3-pointers in this game. And there was a game a couple of nights before the All-Star break all happened. He took 5 threes. but he wasn't making them. But he took 5. And I love the fact that he was taking them. At least Matisse was just taking them. I would imagine Doc goes out there and says, Matisse, take your shots. Be you. Be who you are. Don't try and do too much. But if you have an open shot, I want you to pop it. If you are a guy that's wide open, don't be afraid to constantly shoot. If it doesn't go in, that's fine. The only way to get better is repetition and to let it fly. I do think that there's a mixture of be you and also take it if it's there because you need to work on it. He took 0 today. And when you talk about this team, playoff basketball, there are some that hate Danny Green so much that maybe Matisse Thybulle is an option that they feel would be great. And Tyrone put out on display, the perfect reason why that someone like Matisse Thybulle, who can't shoot right now in his career, starting him and playing him 20-plus minutes in the playoffs, how that could damage you. Let's say you're playing the Brooklyn Nets, and Kevin Durant defensively has Matisse Thybulle. Well, if Joel Embiid is in the post and he's ready to go to work, you don't have to respect Matisse Thybulle. You can then bring KD off of Matisse Thybulle very heavily and then swarm Joel, make him uncomfortable, and you'll live with the kick out to Matisse Thybulle. He's shooting 29% from 3 right now. You might not like where Danny Green is, but he's above the league average. It's streaky. It's not the best in the world. It's not the best version of Danny Green either, as he had 40+% from 3 type of seasons. But if you're KD and Danny Green hits 3 threes, hits 2 threes, well, you can't let that keep happening. So that changes the dynamic of the spacing. Even if Matisse Thybulle hits 2, hits 3, he doesn't have the level of respect where you now have to contest him. Danny Green has that. Danny Green has that background, has that type of history, has the statistics to support it. You can now double Joel and KD. Let's think about that. KD, and it's all hypothetical, of course, but KD's laughing defensively now, where his job is to kind of help defend and maybe bring a double and all, compared to really having to focus in and be locked and ready and to be defending at this pure, intense level. Because in Matisse Thybulle, it just doesn't work the same way. And that's where the concern is. And he's right. I'll take my chances with Danny Green offensively, hanging out by the corner, which is where he does normally get to succeed more than the rest. In that corner spot, hanging out. You got to be aware of him. The guy's a champion for a reason. He's won championships in many different areas for a reason. Now, I like Matisse, and I think he's going to have a big role. And the fact that you can have him and Ben Simmons out there, it adds such an unbelievable dynamic. But it also crushes you offensively with Ben and Matisse. It really does limit you. And I just thought that he really displayed it well on why something like that will really crucify you. I wish Matisse could be a 36, 37% three-point shooter. That's average, league average, 36%. If he can get there, then yeah, it's a different story. But he's not. 29 is brutal. And the fact that in a game like this, where it's a 20-point game, they're cruising, they're winning, for him to take 0 3-point attempts, I hate that, right? At least try. I brought up Ben Simmons, though, and there's this audio cut of the Washington Wizards broadcast I would love to play and get the reaction. It's about Ben Simmons. It's probably one of the worst takes I've ever heard in my life. Before we do that, though, I need to let you know about DeSimone Jewelers. And I go there pretty much every single holiday at this point. I love to get my fiance jewelry. She loves it. It puts a smile on her face, and that's what I love to do. But DeSimone Jewelers puts a smile on my face because of how they can beat competitors' prices due to the fact that they do everything. They make it all happen right there at their office, and that allows them to be able to compete and beat competitors' prices. It's insane. I got my engagement ring there. I got my latest Christmas gift there. My fiance falls over because of excitement, because of the bling that shines on her face. And if you only knew how much I paid, you'd be like, are you serious? Yeah, I'm telling you, the prices are that good. They show you and teach you everything there on the spot, and that's what I love. They don't use the sale tactics. They just show you the options, and they educate you. They give you all these pieces. They tell you to look at the diamonds through this. It's like a magnifying glass, but it intensifies what you're looking at. They explain the diamond, the shape of it, and the grade of it. It really does put it in perspective. They're a family-owned business with over 40 years of experience. They moved from Jewelers Row to Haddonfield, New Jersey. You are going to walk into that office and be amazed and so excited to continue to use their services. You'll see exactly what I mean. Tell them Brodes sent you. All the information is down below. All right, so let's go to this audio cut from the Washington Wizards broadcast. Listen to this nonsense. It's actually embarrassing.
I think Ben Simmons is one of, if not the most overrated players in the NBA. And he's gotten so much love and attention that people aren't paying attention to what Tobias Harris is actually doing on the floor.
Now, that just shows a total lack of disrespect. That shows that this announcer doesn't watch Ben Simmons. He doesn't understand the game of basketball, which is crazy, right? Like, how can you watch basketball and say that he's the most overrated player in the league? I have had my fair share of screaming at Ben, but it's all from like an emotional fan standpoint, and because I think so highly of him and because I know what his ceiling can be. See, the difference is we get mad at him when we really rip him into pieces. It's almost because we know what he can be, and we're so upset that he hasn't grown in certain areas that we need him to quick enough for our liking, but we see the ceiling. What that was a total lack of awareness on what his ceiling is, and he doesn't even recognize the talent and what it can be. That's why we get frustrated from a fan's perspective, because we want him to be that great, because we know it's in there. To him, he doesn't even see that it's in there. He's just overrated, and no one's giving Tobias Harris enough credit. If you've watched this team, and look, Ben hasn't been doing it all year. Early in the season, it's been bad, and maybe that's what he's referencing. Because remember, the Sixers and the Wizards, they opened the season up against one another. So this announcer who's on the road, and he's going around following this specific team in Washington, well, he's not doing his research and homework around the league when it comes to watching other teams. And I'm not saying it's easy to do that, but if his only reference is the matchups against the Wizards, well, there was that really tough day early on, and it wasn't as if he was dominant all year long. It's been this more of a February stretch, but it's the lack of awareness and the lack of the knowledge of the game to not even see the ceiling whatsoever. Let's hear that one more time. One more time.
I think Ben Simmons is one of, if not the most overrated players in the NBA. And he's gotten so much love and attention that people aren't paying attention to what Tobias Harris is actually doing.
So you're telling me, and I know the fan part of it is a joke, but if you looked at this All-Star Game voting, and if you looked at how it all went down, the coaches, people around the league, high-level people, high-level coaches, high-level executives, all that. Look at how Ben Simmons is looked upon by all of his peers. Look at the way that he is talked about by the players in the league. Whether it's LeBron and KD picking their team on TV and they're, oh, damn it, I want Ben. Ah, damn it, I want Ben. Who are you to make that statement? And I feel like that older brother right now, if this makes any sort of sense, you pick on your younger brother when you're the older brother. That's your job. That's what you're supposed to do. And when somebody else steps into that territory and makes fun of your younger brother, what do? You step up for him. You have their back. Yo, shut the hell up. You don't say that about him, even though you might have said that same thing a day earlier. That's that older brother effect. Well, that's Ben Simmons. I can rip him. I can destroy him. But if someone comes out of town and says something nasty or disrespectful and shows that they're maybe not that intelligent at the sport, which is nuts considering his job title and what he does, you can't do that. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I'm allowed to do. The audacity to come in here and say those words. But man, I'll tell you what, I've heard some bad takes. I've heard some awful takes. That's for sure one of them. And I sit here today so frustrated, really annoyed, really upset. It's a mixture of so many emotions. Not knowing, things being up in the air, scared, right? That puts me in a spot where I'm nervous because I'm thinking that it's all over. And that's all she wrote for Joel Embiid's MVP campaign. And I don't even want to think about, what can they do? What can they not do? Dude, if you lose the MVP of the league, good luck, all right? As much as I just supported Ben Simmons, he's not ready yet. And you see it with this team. Joel and Ben, they're very important to one another. They need one another. This can't get overlooked. This can't be a, hey, well, Ben and Tobias can hold the fort down. No. Furkan Korkmaz can do it. No! 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 Shame on anyone to have that type of reaction right now. What else do I have about this game? Man, it's so hard to put this behind you during the game. So I definitely love the fact that the team just kept their foot on the gas and annihilated their opponent. But you're getting some good production from some players, and I guess that's nice. Mike Scott seems to be coming around a little bit. But who in their right mind can sit here and discuss Mike Scott and discuss Shake Milton and discuss anything about this team for real, when Joel Embiid, and I don't know why I just said for real, did you hear that awkward silence? I was like, what am I? What, am I that one guy on TikTok that goes into his mom's car every single day and slams the door and he talks about getting hand jobs from Jessica? If you don't even know what I'm talking about and I sound like an idiot, I'm sorry. I apologize. For real, just threw me off for a loop. Oh, it's that type of day, though. It's only fitting that that's where we are. Because I'm thrown for a loop with this Joel Embiid hyperextension. Oh, I keep seeing the replay. Am I going to be able to fall asleep? This might be one of those nights where I constantly am glued to Twitter, to that tweet, to the tweet of the video where it's on replay, and I'm constantly watching it to try and analyze it in depth. The Anytime Hotline had a bunch of calls reacting to the news, and now that we're 30 minutes into the show, I'm curious if I should allow those calls to sit there and maybe do another pod talking about this with just the calls to kind of, take the reaction of the calls at the time. Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? Considering we're so deep into the show as it is, we'll keep the calls for another podcast. I know they play on Sunday, so I'm just trying to strategically do this in my head right now on the fly, just kind of preparing for future podcasts. You got to space those bad boys out. So maybe that's what I'll do. I'll tell you what, though, there's a lot of college basketball on, and it's that time of year again. Conference tournaments are tipping off. Bubble teams are making their final push for a bid, while the top seeds are preparing for what they hope is a long run. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting new customers in the center of the action. Bet $4 on an underdog, win $256 if they win. It's that simple. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code Brodes when you sign up to turn $4 into $256 if the underdog of your choosing pulls off the upset. That's code Brodes to turn $4 into $256 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Pennsylvania only, new customers only. Restrictions apply in partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And I forgot, we're probably going to get some updated news, I would imagine, as the next day comes around and all. So hopefully these calls won't be outdated. I'm taking a risk here.